beautiful soul. Welcome. This is Rochelle with Healing Rose. So today I'm doing more deck decluttering, and so because I have everything categorized, these are my Egyptian themed decks, or decks that are heavily decorated in an Egyptian style. All right, so let's start with the little one. I think no, let's start with what's on top. That'll be you. So we have the Egyptian Tarot by Los Scarabeo. This is Tempera on Papyrus by Sylvana Leja. And it's lovely. It's gorgeous. And I kind of realized, so it comes with a little white book and a couple of cover cards. It does have the several languages, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 languages on it. So it is multilingual. And it is adorable, classic, like wall of the temple, Egyptian style drawings. It's absolutely lovely. And in a very classic tarot style. So that's great. The reason I never use it is because it is a pip deck, and I love these bright colors. And it's the tempera paints that give it that lovely colors. The suits, we have the king, queen, knight. I love these Egyptian horses. Aren't they fabulous? And then we have our cups, which of course are all just cups. We have the swords, which all look like swords. So So if you read Marseille style, this is an excellent deck to have. But I never use it. I really never use it. So, and if I decided I want it again, it is readily available. Oh, puppy's having dreams. It is readily available if I wanted to buy another copy. But honestly, I've had this for more than a decade, and the box still looks like this because this is probably the 6th or 7th time I've actually opened the box. I think I've shuffled it twice and then put it back in order. So it is like brand new. I don't even think I've done a flip through on it. I might before I sell it. Who knows? So then I also have the Egyptian Tarot by Sylvana Leja. And this is just the trumps only. Now look at the backs, right? So the backs on these ones, which I don't even think I showed you. Let's get one out. So the backs are like this on these. But the backs on these ones are like this. How gorgeous is that? So they are a fully reversible back on this version, which honestly, I think these should have been the backs on the others. So we have all the majors, but in this really beautiful large edition, which I love. I do somehow feel like the colors are a little different, like the blue isn't as a blue, because we have that really bright blue and bright yellow. Although, I mean, this one's really yellow. Yeah, so it's kind of interesting how this is a little bit more almost toned down in its printing. But I do love having those large decks. I think I might keep this one. I think so. I think maybe this one could stay. This is a maybe, to be honest. It's like maybe. Okay, let's go. This one is from, I believe, Aquarian Press. This is Clive Barrett's Ancient Egyptian Tarot. It doesn't have a box. I believe this one may have actually come in the box set because we have our soft cover book with it. This is from the early 90s. I want to say 94. So this is the early version that went out of print that is a little pricier, and he has just released in the last year, I think there was a reprint done. So even though this version is out of print, I think it is still only, maybe something like, if I think about it, it's probably somewhere close to like 100 to 140 Canadian. The new version you can get directly from Clive Barrett on Etsy for like 75 Canadian. So this one does have nudity in the sort of classic style of drawings and depictions researched from ancient Egypt. So just, you know, to be forewarned, it's not super, it's pretty toned down, to be honest. Like, I don't even really notice it very much in the stack because there's not massive emphasis on it, right? It's just like, it's just sort of there, but it's not in a, there's nothing really lewd or graphic about it. So I find I don't notice it, but it is fully illustrated, which is why I prefer this one over the other one. And this one has had much more use than the other. So it really does give us, like, I love this 9 of Pentacles, 9 of Discs. I do really want to cut it down, and I'll tell you I haven't because I knew it was out of print, so I actually didn't want to alter it in case I was thinking about selling it. But if I'm really honest, I mean, I love ancient Egypt. I have like onks all over the place in my house. I used to have a whole lot of papyrus paintings that were damaged in a move, but I have, like, you know, I have Egyptian artwork all, if I'm honest, all over my house. So I'm not getting rid of this deck anytime soon. I should just trim it to where I'm really happy to just use it all the time. So I actually want to just take it down so it's just the dark border, and then give it some kind of a colored edging. I think I have like a bronzy, like a metallic bronze ink that I think would be really beautiful as a trim for this. So I think that's a project I'm going to do, even though I'm kind of like, oh, it's probably more valuable if I don't alter it. But honestly, if I'm going to keep it, I don't really care. If I'm totally honest, I don't really care. All right, so let's get this oracle out of the way because he's a big guy and he takes up a lot of room. The Anubis Oracle, A Journey into the Shamanic Mysteries of Egypt by Nikki Scully and Linda Starwolf, illustrated by Chris Walder. So Chris Walder also did the Lover's Path Tarot out by US Games and the Goddess Tarot from US Games. This is Bear & Co. Bear & Company from Rochester, Vermont. bearandcompanybooks.com. So yeah. So this one comes with a great big book, and it talks about using the system and the sort of shamanic way of working with the energy of Anubis. And we've got these different cards in here. So it gives us a fair amount of information for each card. Like, really just talking about, like, if you've pulled the card, this is what it means. It's not a huge story on symbolism or anything with it. And then there's these interesting combination cards. So I'll take a quick peek. I'm not going to do a full flip through because I want to try to, you know, stay to a reasonable timeline. So key card, Anubis. This is kind of your significator. The sort of like energetic place card that you can or cannot keep in the deck, right? So he's just an aside. So then we have the Initiate, or let's be real here. What we have is we have the major arcana. So we have the Alchemist, the High Priestess, the Mother of Us All, the Master Craftsman. We have Divine Messenger, the Cosmic Library, right? Earth Altar. We have Sobek and Horus, Reconciliation of Opposites. So there's our Lovers card. We have Sekhmet, really obviously in a chariot. We have Ma'at for Truth, Balance, and Radiance. So there's our Justice. We have Thoth. This is our Hermit. We have the Wheel. This is our Strength. So, I mean, Bast. Interesting that it's Bast and not Sekhmet, because Sekhmet is the lion, Bast is the cat, right? It would have, to me, like when you're doing that nod to strength, but it's not my deck. We have Anubis, Surrender, the Shaman, the Enlightened Heart for the Hanged Man. We have Osiris for Death, Balance for Temperance. We have the Devil. We have the Tower. We have the Star and the Moon and the Sun. Like, it really is the tarot, right? And then we have 4 cards for the elements, and then we have these combo cards, combinations of these different energies that work together. And it doesn't give you any keywords on here for what those are. You have to learn it in the book. So it's kind of interesting. Basically, it's like the majors plus the elements, and then some specific combos of majors, which I feel like you could have gotten that anyways, just by specific combinations of specific major cards and the energies of them working together in a spread. So if you drew those 3 cards, that would give you, now you're drawing 1 card, which tells you what those 3 cards would be. Kind of, I don't know. For now, it's in my keep pile because I've only just started working with it again, even though I've had it for like, I don't know, 12, 13, 14 years. It's been a while. It's been a long while. Yeah, probably. I think my daughter was like 6 or something when I got that. So it's been a long, long while. So we have the Egyptian Art Nouveau Tarot. This is Julia Massaglia. This is a Lo Scarabeo deck. So it's one of their ones that doesn't have any language on it. We just have a symbol and a number, or a symbol representing whether it's the king, the queen, the page, or the knight. And the majors have Roman numerals, and the minors have a symbol and a number. And so we have a fully illustrated deck as opposed to it being a pip deck. So our minors all have these. It's very much a Rider-Waite clone. I love this. I love the colors of it. I love the softness of it. Not as kind of fiery as I would expect. Like, the color palette is kind of interesting, but it's still so soft, which I guess is that nod to Art Nouveau. Very interesting. I love this. I did a full flip through of it the day I got it. I was so madly, totally in love with the art, the style, the flow, everything about it. It's kind of fantastic. So this is definitely in my keep pile. This is, I feel like actually just as I go through these, I'm like, oh, I really want to just play with my Egyptian decks this week. Like, stay focused, stay on task. All right. So this little tiny deck of sweetness is the Cartouche deck. So I originally got it in a little tiny, and I'm sure I actually bought it at a secondhand shop, in this little teeny tiny skinny little itty bitty box, which has long since bought the biscuit. Little instruction booklet which gives you upright and reverse meanings and a little bit about what the image represents. So it's very kind of brief. Let's take a look at the cards real quick. So I think there's just 25 cards. Right? So they're very simple. They're very simple. They're very adorable. You can do great big spreads with it if you feel like it. You can do like all kinds of stuff. What I did find a couple years back, in a used bookshop for $7.50, I found this, The Way of the Cartouche, an Oracle of Ancient Egyptian Magic. So this was published in 85. And what it gives us is, if we look at the card, it gave us like a really brief the symbol, the identity, the hieroglyph, and the nature, and then keywords, and then a really brief little tiny, like 3 or 4 sentences description in the tiny book. This gives up upright meaning if it's spiritual, if it's mental, if it's like the physical level, and then if it's reversed, if you want to use it for meditation, if you want to use it as a talisman, the symbol, and the hieroglyph, and then legend. So it actually gives us like a little stories about the different background of each of the symbols. So there's a lot of information. It's very, very cool. And then there's the spreads are in the beginning. So it actually gives us a whole bunch of stuff about doing different spreads, the samples of what they look like, as we, lay things out, as you add clarifiers, if you want to do the star, what the stars mean, how to set that up, some different sample readings of that. So, there's a lot to be said for, often a deck can stand alone, but I think when it's something a little different like this, I love having the book. This I'm definitely keeping because I love this tiny little deck. I talk about having like great big cards, and I love great big cards to lay out, but honestly, if a deck is like, if it's a wee little thing, adorable. I love it. Can't go wrong. So we have the Isis Oracle, and I have 2, and I keep thinking, do I need both? Should I get rid of one? And lately I've been really enjoying carrying this around and just shuffling until something flips over, or shuffling until something falls out. And then that's how I get my cards. Because once you learn them, it's like, oh, look, it's the, enter the healing chamber. I know what that door means when I see it. So if I'm drawing cards subconsciously, I'm padding the reading, right? This way, it's like really random what flips over, what falls out, and I don't even have to look at it, right? If today I'm only getting, there we go, 2 cards, 3 cards. So now I'm not picking by image, and I can pick by what it means, right? Like by what's coming naturally, rather, as opposed to like me subconsciously, some part of my brain is going, oh yeah, you want this card, you want that card, With these having the meanings on the back, you can't shuffle them upside down. With the pictures, it's like, oh, you know what the picture means, so you can't pick it that way. I find it really kind of tough. So often what I'll do is kind of like look upwards and then give it like kind of a shuffle and then just like split it. And there's my card. And that'll be the card that I read, right? So that I'm trying to be as neutral as I can with it. But I've been enjoying it because it gives me an opportunity to kind of, I don't know what the word is for it. It just kind of lets me experiment with just drawing cards and playing with it in a different way. And when it's little like that, I can play with bigger spreads, more complex spreads. And I don't need a great big huge, I don't need like the entire kitchen table for it, right? So the big version I love because we have a back where I can, now I don't know what any of the cards are when I'm looking at the backs. So it really makes it nice for drawing cards. And these are huge freaking cards, right? So this is what Blue Angel always has. I think Blue Angel might have like the largest oracle size that's around, which is kind of, it's lovely and luxurious sometimes, maybe, It feels almost sort of opulent to have these great big cards, but at the same time, they're hard to handle. They're not super practical to travel with. So I love I don't know. Which one do I keep? I've really been experimenting with this. I kind of have this epiphany, like, if I can't sit down and do a full-on reading with this, do I want it in my collection? Like, if I couldn't sit and do a full Celtic cross with it and have it read smoothly, does it deserve to stay in my collection? Like, I kind of feel like I've reached that point where now although I can love the artwork on a lot of things, I realize when I have, like, I counted my decks and I was like, oh my God, I have so many. How many of them do I use? How many do I have just because I have them? You know, or I got them just because I enjoy supporting the artist. Well, that's great, but I also like having shelf space. So I've been going through and I've been experimenting, and like everything's getting that kind of Celtic cross, or I mean, my preference is the cosmic cross variation that Rebecca Campbell does, and just doing that full layout with an oracle. And does it read? Can I read with it that way, or is it always going to be a deck that's just like a one to three card draw? Like, because some of them don't lend themselves to that, you know. So, and I've been surprised with my results with this one. I didn't think it was capable of doing it, but it's worked really well. So at the moment, yeah, I think I'm going to keep both because I like the little one for travel. Because then I also don't need to have a little booklet, right? Because I just have the stuff on the back of the card. So that's kind of handy. All right, you need a space to sit. And there's no space on my desk. And that is part of why I'm decluttering. Because I've run out of shelf space and I'm running out of desk space. So where do I put something? Where can I put things down? That's why I need to clear out some decks. Okay, so I have two more that I'm going to say are mostly Egyptian themed, if not in style, maybe in content. So we have the Moonchild Tarot and the Shadow edition of the Moonchild Tarot. All right, so these two, and I've already done comparisons of them and flip throughs of them, so I'm not going to do the whole thing. Oh, look at that. Well, that's really interesting. So we have the Knight of Pentacles, right? What a different look for the two. So this is an interesting kind of blend of medieval, like these medallions are definitely very like medieval or Byzantine style, with this really interesting kind of desert feel. There's this kind of really interesting abstract, and then we definitely have like this clear nod to ancient Egypt, but we have this like cosmic thing going on, right? So to me, I'm kind of like, we have this, it's such an interesting blend of things, right? We have this clear Egyptian influence and this kind of starseed aspect, and there's like something that's so soft and swirly about it that reminds me of like Art Nouveau, but it's very, very kind of like Georgia O'Keeffe, maybe a little bit. I don't know, like there's a lot going on. This is, I love this High Priestess so much more than the version that's in here. But yeah, it's, you know, it's quite, I mean, it's a really interesting blend of Egyptian and medieval to me. So I love both of these. I can't decide which version I like more. This one definitely is more Egyptian feeling. This brings in a little bit more of this interestingly romanticized, soft medieval feel. So I don't know, but both of these are also staying in the collection. So there we go. That much is like really, that was easy to decide, right? And I love the moon cartouche on the back. That's really, really brilliant. I love that. All right, so what are we keeping? So we're keeping the Moonchilds for sure. The Art Nouveau, our Ancient Egyptian, our Way of Cartouche we're keeping. We're keeping both of the Isis oracles. And I think the Anubis oracle for now. Anubis for now. Until I kind of really feel into whether or not it's going to stay. I just want to see how it works. And I think I'm going to spend about a solid month with it. and just see if I like this sort of split, using the majors as an oracle versus reading them so much in the tarot. Kind of an interesting way to do it. So definitely getting rid of this one and maybe this one. So I think at this point I'm up to like 8 or 9 decks, which is not too bad. I think it's not too bad. So 2, 4, 6, 8. So I'm keeping 8. That's not, yeah, I feel okay with that. I feel okay with that. I think it's going to be easier when I get to the Lenormand decks to see which one of those I'm clearing out. So, and it feels like it's getting easier as it goes, because then the reality is I thought if I wanted to just spend a month with each deck a year, how many years would it take me to actually spend quality time with any of these decks? So what's the point in having them? Just for the sake of having them? To me, that's kind of a little ridiculous at this point. Like, yeah, I don't. So, you know, something's got to give. And if I don't love it and I don't use it, really, it shouldn't stay here. I do quite love the artwork in this one. We'll see how it works. We'll see how it works. The other ones, I know I love working with all of these. So this one's maybe on the chopping block in a month or so after I spend some time with it. We'll see. We'll see what happens there. But I think it's going to be kind of fun to work with. So thank you so much for sticking around for this long. And I'd love to hear any kind of insight you might have if you actually have any of these decks, and how you use them and how they work for you, and if you're enjoying them, or if it's something that you had and it's already passed on to someone else's collection. So if you're still here, thank you so much for watching. I absolutely appreciate you being here and tuning in. It's always so wonderful. If you want to give it a thumbs up, that would be awesome. If you wanted to subscribe, that also would be really cool. So wherever you are, I hope that you have a fabulous week and an absolutely wonderful day. Take care.